2021 for the backyard. Oh boy, what a year that was. And by that, I mean one of the weaker years of the backyard, actually, in my opinion. You know, says the one who actually does the videos here. Yeah, in my opinion, this was actually one of the weaker years in the backyard's history. Mainly for the actual back reveal series itself. If you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, you probably know that throughout 2021, there were multiple hiatuses and just long gaps between tons of episodes spread throughout that year. There were multiple times throughout 2021 that there were straight up no episodes in sight. There were long gaps in between multiple episodes with tons of hiatuses throughout the year. And that is truly my fault intended. I know I already apologized by the end of the year when I actually got back on track. I actually apologized multiple times throughout the years, but then the hiatuses kept coming. Eventually, by the end of the year, it finally stopped and I actually got back on track. And well, this 2022 is still carrying the momentum. Like, you know, my activity with this series. This series is truly back on track. As of recording this very video, the Lanai renovation project is currently ongoing, which has made me make episodes pretty much every single day because there is a lot to go down there. Now, that's really cool and all. As for 2021, let's take a look back at all of the events of 2021. And I gotta say, I think because of the lack of episodes, there were less events. I think that's actually true. Well, we're about to find out right now. With all that being said, technically, we have been on this one screen the whole time, being the New Year's party of 2021. I almost said 2022. Speaking of 2022, we didn't even have a New Year's party. In fact, there were no events in January overall. So anyway, the New Year's party. Since we're already here, well, let's do this. It started on January 1st and came to an end on the 5th. Like all the other New Year's parties, all it was just a few small decorations in a few certain rooms. But the difference this time was that there were still Christmas decorations lying around from 2020's Christmas event at the exact same time. And if we had the New Year's party in 2022, the same thing would have still applied, seeing as the 2021 decorations carried into 2022 as well. But we didn't actually have a New Year's party, so yeah, this is the only time that'll ever happen. And thank God. While it was cool back then, it was not really the same. Either way, the mini events still consisted of a logo and a background and of course a pin, all in their respective rooms like the past few years, which was really, really cool and all. I'll admit that one. This was also the first full-on New Year's party to take place at night. Yep, this was the first New Year's mini event to exclusively take place at night. And, yep, this would also be the last New Year's mini event for 2 years until 2023, because like I said, there was no mini event for New Year's in 2022 due to the fact that the first back reveal of 2022 did not come out on January 2nd. Rather, it actually came out on January 7th. Just like 2017. Never thought I would bring that up. Still though, it was a pretty cool mini event. It was also kind of nice still having the Christmas decorations up, but it also kind of just didn't feel the same at the same time. With that being said, let's move on to the next event. The next event to occur in the backyard in 2021, which was the second and last event for January, was the Color Party of 2021. It started on January 14th and was originally meant to end on January 21st, however it actually ended on January 24th instead, exactly 10 days after the event originally began. Also, this was the event that started the multiple hiatuses from back reveals throughout 2021, because after the January 14th episode, that's when the hiatus is officially begun. And oh, this is where things kind of go downhill. Kind of, I said. But I will admit, the Color Party was still really, really cool. While the Color Party didn't actually occur in January this year, in 2022, it will occur in June, because I wanted to change things up. The 2021 Color Party, however, let's have ourselves a look, pretty much played out like all the other Color Parties, except the only difference is, unlike the Color Party of 2020, there are no logo votes. Nope, that part was completely scrapped after in this Color Party instead. We kind of went back to the traditional Color Party, but kind of kept one thing from the 2020 Color Party intact, and that was colors crossing into the next one, which was really, really cool at the time. So that was pretty cool. That was the only thing from the Color Party of 2020 that stayed intact. Now then, while we did go back to the traditional Color Party instead of what we did in 2020, which was honestly, I think, way better in my opinion, it was still nice having something here. But it would also be the last Color Party to occur full on in January. Well, except for next year when it's going to be the 5th anniversary. I guess that'll make sense. But either way, yeah, it's looking great. And with that being said, and by great, I'm meaning like all the rooms did indeed look really, really good for this party. I will admit, that was cool. Oh yeah, seeing the garden now in this footage and realizing it's gone now in 2022, yeah, that feels weird to look at. Because yeah, in 2022 it's now officially gone, the garden. Feels weird seeing that again. Wow. Oh yeah, this was also technically the first full-on Color Party to occur fully at nighttime, just like the New Year's party of 2021. Yup, it was pretty much a nighttime party, just like the New Year's party as well. I thought I'd just mention that right before moving on to the next event. And speaking of this next event, it's actually a combination of two. Want to know which ones they are? Hey, it's me, 10 months after I recorded that. Yeah, I just want to let you know the following footage you just watched up until this point was actually recorded all the way back in March of 2022, right before the Legos Island Events of 2017 episode came out. So that's why you heard me say there my project was ongoing. That's because that footage was recorded when it was still ongoing. I thought I'd just bring that up real quick before we continue. In case you all got confused at the beginning, I just thought I'd bring that up real quick. Yep, that was recorded like 10 months ago, all that footage you just saw. Up until this point. But yeah, now it's 2023. You know, over a year after I should have, had this video out. Yeah, I'm a year late. Okay, we can continue now. I won't interrupt anymore. And now from this point forward, all of this footage will be done by me right now in 2023. Let's continue. Now, the reason I said a combination of two was because this next one was the Winter Luau 2021 plus Valentine's Day Party 2021. It started on February 12th and ended on the 15th. As the name suggests, there were items based off of two different ongoing parties. Speaking of the Winter Luau of 2021, by the way, this was meant to occur originally from January 28th to February 4th, lasting that 1 week. It didn't because I took a long hiatus from the series again. So that can explain. Remember what I just said earlier? Yeah, anyway. Again, as the name would suggest, this was a combination of those two parties. So there were both Winter Luau decorations alongside, of course, Valentine's Day decorations at the exact same time, which was really cool. Yep, you can see one down there, that background. And, yep. Now, there were more Winter Luau decorations here compared to Valentine's Day if you were genuinely curious. Speaking of which, there has not been a Winter Luau ever since this party, actually. Nope, it was completely skipped in 2022. And, yeah. So that's something that you can take a note of. This was the last one for 2 years until February of 2023, where that will eventually be held, as of recording this. Anyway, for Valentine's Day, we would get said boxes, which was pretty cool. That's something that was there for Valentine's Day. Now, the real question, did we make a Valentine's Day project? I'm not going to lie to you, I forgot. Let's take a look. Oh, and of course there was a custom shirt for the Winter Luau. Oh, not to mention there was a Valentine's Day shirt as well, which I think was the first ever custom shirt to be in purple, by the way. Yeah, there was one. Nice. Okay, just curious. And there will be one again here in 2023, by the way. Yeah, there were even some really awesome, unique Valentine's Day items that I just addressed. The one difference about the Winter Luau was that there were no lights. This would be because the next event we're about to talk about is basically why it wasn't there. Ultimately, it was nice having these two parties combined. Of course, the next year after this would not happen. But this isn't the last time this year in 2021 that we would have two parties merged together. Oh, we'll get to it later. The Night of Lights 2021. Or, hold it! This is actually the first anniversary party. Originally, I stated it as Night of Lights 2021. But later confirmed that this was just the first anniversary party for the Night of Lights. Speaking of which, it started on February 23rd and was originally supposed to end on March 2nd. However, it actually ended later than that on March 17th, 15 days after it was supposed to end. And also, this was the one part, I think this was the one event of the entire year that it ended later than it should have. Outside of the color party. And yeah. With that being said, as the name suggests, this party of course celebrated the 1-year anniversary of the Night of Lights event. Again, this was before it was changed to that. Because later in the year, we actually held an actual one. Speaking of which, the reason why we did that was actually because after day 2, we never actually finished the anniversary celebration, which later made me do it again just around 9 months later. So I thought I'd just bring that up real quick. Obviously, every single light used in this event is no more. Of course, since this was, at the time, this was almost 2 years ago. Holy frick. But, yeah, it was pretty nice. I had this planned for a while to do this for 1 year. And I thought it would be pretty interesting. It's unfortunate we never finished it, but you know, maybe it is for the better that we didn't finish it because we ultimately got to do another one later in the year so they could no longer be in February only. So maybe it is for the better. Because this year sure isn't. Oh god, no. I'll do something for 3 years, I'll tell you that, but in fact, actually, I think the next year we didn't actually do anything for the anniversary, so that proves something. Anyway, it was basically the same thing as the previous year's Night of Lights. It's just except for the fact that we never finished it. That's the only difference, but there were entirely new sets of lights at the time, and the entire backyard, I think, was decorated too, which was pretty sweet at the time. But actually, I think this event... I think this event had a feature where there would be 2 colored light strips in one room instead of just one. So that was a really nice change at the time of doing that. Now, ultimately, that, I think, wraps up this event right here. Let's move on. Because we're going to go a bit farther in the year than you think. Because of how late this ended, we go all the way to St. Patrick's Day. Yep, because the Night of Lights 1-year anniversary party ended 2 weeks later than it was supposed to, we automatically go right into St. Patrick's Day. My god, I'm getting that messed up. As the logo says, it only lasted 1 day, March 17th. The reason it did was because of how late the Night of Light's first anniversary party ended. As usual, as the name suggests, there was a custom shirt. And that was pretty sweet. I think this party also introduced, fun fact, the scarf. And there was even a project done too, by the way. That was something really, really awesome. I think like the year prior, we were able to hunt for shamrocks to put in the project. Yeah, you could tell there were some lights still up, proving that it ended late. So that's something. Yeah, you could clearly tell I wasn't that active during this time. But hey, 2022 fixed that. No, like seriously, it did. We'll talk about that in the next episode, which I think I'm gonna do immediately after this, because it's not even that late. Anyway, point is, the party was pretty small. Oh yeah, this was around the time those lights were introduced, actually, right here specifically. Like, these lights specifically were introduced around this time. So, that was quite interesting. But yeah, I think the scarf was, actually debuted during this party, I think. I think it actually debuted during this party, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, as you would expect, the whole backyard was covered in green like all the other St. Patrick's Day parties. And this would be the only one to last for just one day, as the next year we would go back to a more traditional length. Anyway, with that being said, that is really cool. And yep, some shamrocks were hidden behind signs like that one, for example. That was pretty sweet. And, speaking of that fence wall, I wonder where we're going next. This next one technically is not considered an event. It technically isn't, actually. But, because of how freaking huge it made an impact on the year for the backyard, I just had to put it in here. It's technically not an event, but again, it made a huge impact on some of the events later in the year. In fact, actually, all of them. As, well, we got a completely different change to some of the rooms on the backyard. And if I didn't mention this, some of you would probably think that I forgot. Ultimately, it was the backyard construction. Again, not an event, but I thought I'd again just bring it up. It started on March 24th and ended on the 26th. As the name would suggest, the fences were currently on the other side of the backyard where the workshop and shed and tripod area were ultimately removed to put in new fences at the time, and ultimately extend the workshop, as we could clearly see here. Yep, that's right. It was completely destroyed at the time, which was actually rather insane. Ultimately, that was something pretty crazy back in the day, and it's still all those fences that later went up, which I'll talk about in a minute, they ultimately are still here today. Like, I still have that extended area now. But you could bet my workshop was trash during this time. And it took forever to bring it back up. Yep, this was the first time that we could ever go behind the workshop, ever. And I can still do this today, because, well, now I have all that area. All that space that I was given back then. Dang, that's just insane, man. I forgot how freaking cool this was. But, yeah. Yeah, this backyard was pretty messed up at the time. And even stuff in the lanai was going on. This was just right a year before the lanai project. But yeah, you see those fences right there? That would be later what would go into the workshop and extend its area. Those fences, respectively. So you could tell there was a ton of stuff lying around during this time. And that's all that needs to be said. Literally. So ultimately, with that being said, that is it. I have no other reason to go on. Let's continue. Oh yeah, this is also what the backyard looked like after its completion for the construction, by the way. I thought I'd just bring that up real quick because I think I did say that. Yeah, the gate was entirely removed during this, and it is permanently, actually. Yep, as you can see, there were entirely new fences during this time. And yes, that did mean that ultimately the workshop got bigger. And by bigger, I actually mean it actually got bigger. And it still looks like this to this very day. Now, moving back on to our actual next events. Just thought I'd bring this up. The next event is another combination of two. This would be the April Fool's Party. Basically, yeah, April Fool's plus Easter Party 2021. It started on April 1st and was originally supposed to end on April 5th. However, it actually ended 2.5 weeks later on April 22nd. Okay, I was wrong. Apparently, this was another one of those events that just ended later than usual. Yeah, this event went on longer than it was supposed to. As you could clearly see, this was literally just right after those fences went up, as we could see. So I couldn't hang really anything on the fences anymore, which was unfortunate. At least a pool noodle, to be exact. I purposely couldn't do that anymore, so ultimately I had to go with what I could now at the time, which is technically still a thing today, considering I just can't do that now, or I can't just hang those pool noodles on the fence anymore. Ultimately, though, that's besides the point. This event, like the 2018 counterpart, as you would expect, there was a combination of both Easter and April Fool's Day decorations around the backyard to celebrate the two. Now, unlike 2018, these two holidays were 3 days apart from each other. That ultimately can explain why I had to merge them together. And that's something. And it was. So, ultimately, while most of this stuff was actually April Fool's Day decorations for some freaking apparent reason, I don't understand why, but yeah, most of this was April Fool's Day stuff for some apparent reason. I don't understand why. That was my fault at the time. But I did hide a few Easter things, like that purple noodle, for example. Like, there were some Easter stuff, thankfully. And yeah, there was a background that actually had both holidays' respective colors combined, so that was pretty sweet. And of course, out of all of this, did I actually do anything for Easter? Yes, I did. In fact, actually, there were entirely new eggs during this Easter egg hunt, and would be later used again a year later. But the point is, this had to be the most gigantic Easter egg hunt of all frickin' time. It took place on Easter, April 4th. And, yep, we had entirely new eggs to search for during this Easter egg hunt. Why did I say it was the biggest? Well, ultimately, it's actually because this Easter egg hunt saw the most amount of eggs hidden of all time. That being 24. And were hidden in places you would never expect an Easter egg to be hidden. For example, let's take a look ourselves. One of them had to be the most funniest of all. One of them was ultimately hidden in the freaking fridge. That's how funny it was. Of course, that fridge has been moved since then. Yeah, it's in a completely different spot now. Oh boy, we'll talk about that in the next episode, because oh boy, next episode we have one gigantic event to talk about, but I'll talk about that next time. But yeah, we had like eggs such as a soccer ball egg, a baseball egg, a lavender egg, a pink egg, a basketball egg, a football egg. We basically had eggs of all colors, like a light pink egg, a gold egg. That was seriously awesome. We had so many eggs. Now you're probably wondering what the heck happened to the eggs from all the years prior. Ultimately, we threw them out during the backyard construction as they were really, really old. And that can explain why. Now, do I still have any of these eggs today? Honestly, I'm going to be honest, I don't think so. So ultimately, if we don't do an Easter egg hunt in 2023, I'm fine with that. As long as we do something Easter related. But I think I still have a few lying around. Anyway, yeah, there were 24 eggs total. And it was one of the most gigantic Easter egg hunts of all time. That's the video length. Oh boy. The next party to occur in the backyard was the Earth Day party, since the April Fool's and Easter event ended the day it started. It only went for, well, actually, it was only supposed to go for one day, that being April 22nd. It actually ended 2 days later on April 24th because I forgot to take it down. And that's the same thing could be said for the Easter and April Fool's party alongside the color party. Yeah, some of these events I just straight up forgot to take down. Oh yeah, that was back when I lost my glasses at the time. Dear God, I'm glad I don't have to go through that again. Yeah, I remember that. Ultimately, the Earth Day party as follows. As you could clearly guess, the backyard was decorated with some really cool Earth Day decorations. Not much of the backyard was decorated, however, as it was actually a very small party, because it was only supposed to be one day. It ultimately turned into 2 by accident. But yeah, it was a very, very small party. There was like almost no decorations around, just because we had just taken down the previous event. So that can purposely explain that. And it was really cool though. There were a lot of items given out. Yeah, this wasn't really that big of a party. Only maybe like 2 or 3 rooms were decorated, which was okay at the time. It made sense. But yeah, a lot of items actually were available, like a background and pin. No shirt from what I am aware, and I'm pretty sure the same thing happened for Easter as well. Yeah, I don't think there was a shirt given out if I'm aware. But yeah, it was pretty cool seeing all of that. Anyway, with that being said, I don't think there was an Earth Day project though, from what I am aware. Actually, I think there was actually. I think it was just in another episode. But yeah, there wasn't really much to say about this Earth Day party outside of the fact that, well, it happened, surprisingly. Yeah, this was back when I was still fixing things up from the construction, so ultimately, yeah, it was tended to be a bit small. Anyway, with that being said, that is really cool. Yeah, this one's kind of funny because the logo's backwards. That was by complete accident. It came out like when we printed it to put on the shirt, the logo came out backwards. I don't remember where the regular, non-reversed logo is. Oh well. That's the celebration of spring 2021. It started on April 30th, originally supposed to be April 29th, and ended on May 4th, originally supposed to be May 7th. Now, it ended early because there was not much put into this. In fact, actually, I think it was actually the weakest celebration of spring of all time. Thank God a year later, it was fixed. But at least we did get a shirt. So ultimately, oh yeah, this was back when I still didn't have my glasses back at the time. But ultimately, the celebration of spring. Yep, this was supposed to be March 24th through 31st, but because of the backyard construction at the time, it would be held a month later. So that's actually when it was originally supposed to be. It was originally supposed to be March 24th through the 31st, but again, because of the construction at the time, again, it was held a month later. There was supposed to be a scarf, a background, and even a shirt. Only the shirt released, which was rather unfortunate at the time when you think about it, unfortunately. Yeah, only the shirt was released, which was pretty nuts, and I still have it today. That was one of my personal favorites. Now, it wasn't actually supposed to look like that. It accidentally blended into the shirt by accident, so that could explain why there. In fact, actually, it's kind of funny that we're talking about the celebration of spring, because I'm actually wearing last year's shirt from 2022 while recording this. I'm going to just bring that up as we are literally talking about that. But you could tell that this was the weakest celebration of spring. So much so that it was literally taken down 3 days early because of it. It just didn't look good. And ultimately, it was originally supposed to be held again a few weeks later, but it didn't happen, when I would have more stuff. But, hey, at least we had a background. But it didn't unlock till later in the event. So ultimately, this was one of the worst celebrations of springs. There was almost nothing here. Again, 2022 thankfully fixed that a year later. But wow. I'm just saying, man. You could tell this was definitely the downfall year for the backyard. But I'll admit, though, the decorations I did have up at the time did look cool. It just wasn't really that interesting. And you could see why I took it down a few days early. It just wasn't that interesting. But ultimately, oh yeah, it flashing like that, yeah, that got annoying after a while. I'm glad that's fixed. Because my god, it flashing like that, that got annoying after a while. You don't understand. Ultimately, that is it for this event. There really wasn't much to talk about since it was actually never finished to begin with, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, my internet just went out for a second. I don't know what that was for. But this next one technically isn't an event, just like the backyard construction, but I thought I'd just bring it in just for the literal sake of why the frick not. This was the Tennessee Vacation. I know, again, this isn't an event, but again, it was so freaking cool that I even added it to the backyard events playlist because why not? It technically wasn't an event, but it was so cool that I thought also, why not add it in here too? It started on May 9th and then ended on the 13th. This was way better than what I had for the celebration of spring. Improved that, well, yeah, I got a better event out of this, even though it wasn't one. It was just a little vacation. But oh boy, was it a frickin' blast. This lasted for 4 days, like the celebration of spring did, but was way better. And I mean way better. Because we actually did some stuff here. It was located somewhere completely different, Tennessee, and had no relation to my backyard whatsoever. This, on the other hand, was seriously amazing. The location itself was fantastic. And truly had a lot going for it. Like, seriously, holy frick, man. Man, we had a lot going for it. The location was really nice. And there was a lot of stuff going in. Yeah, that was even a hot tub. That was pretty sweet. We did so much here. We purposely had a view above the place, which was pretty sweet, as you could clearly see here. That was pretty interesting. We had a creek. That was pretty interesting as well. We dedicated a whole episode to that, just like the view above. Oh yeah, there was just a ton of these trees, like a little wilderness right here. Of course, we had to be careful of bears because there were actually bears out here, as this was an actual, wilderness. But it was so cool seeing everything. And the cabin itself, oh boy, what a frickin' joy. Oh yeah, that was my 3DS right there. Still play that thing today, actually. But yeah, this was a very fun vacation. And this was taken, I think, on the last day, actually. But Yeah, the cabin itself was also extremely cool too. The only reason I brought this vacation up in particular was because of the location change and because of how stupid freaking fun it was. With that being said, that's all I need to say about this event. Or just this vacation. I've, again, just thought I'd bring it up because of the location difference and because of how stupid awesome it was. We haven't done a mini vacation like this since. Alright, the next event, which was actually an event, was the Backyard 3rd Anniversary Party. It started on May 24th, and I think, just like the second anniversary, I think also ended on June 3rd. By accident, obviously. There was a 3rd anniversary shirt, but not just that. A lot of other custom shirts such as the 18 shirt, the 1st anniversary shirt, the 2nd anniversary shirt, and of course the 3rd anniversary shirt itself were all available during this party in the workshop. That was super cool. Yep, as the party goes, it is of course the yearly anniversary party, where of course there would be past rooms dedicated to the past year of the backyard at the respective time. And, well, this is still a tradition now, so here it is. Ultimately, there were decorations spread across various rooms across the backyard. For example, we had one from the Summer Luau from July 2020, which we already took a look at back at the previous Backyard event, Saturday Stories, back in 2021. Ultimately, we had one dedicated to the Christmas party of 2020. That was really cool. I think we also, I think we had one dedicated to the Halloween party of 2020. That's super cool. We even had one, see, there's the scarf for St. Patrick's Day. I just don't think it was available in that room. But there was one from St. Patrick's Day 2021. I think even from the color party from earlier that year, right? Let's have ourselves a look. Yeah, the color party from earlier in January. So that proved that that existed. And the Night of Lights also from earlier that year in 2021. Proving that, there were still some events held, but not many. And there was even, the Night of Lights shirts. So never mind, that was more shirts in this party than I thought. This had to be the one anniversary party with the most custom shirts given out, despite all of them being old. Yeah, I know. It was basically the same as all other years. And, let's move on. Next up was the 4th of July Party 2021. It started on July 4th, and I think only lasted the one day. Now, you may notice we have just skipped June entirely. Now, technically, there is a video in the playlist for the June event, but it was actually the pre-event for the Backyard Games, which would have also been merged with the 7 Days of Fun. Now, I know I could have shown you that, but it didn't really happen. So, ultimately, we're just going to skip that. But 7 Days of Fun did actually end up happening, which we'll talk about next. Anyway, the 4th of July Party. This party was seriously cool. While it still reused basically all decorations from the previous 3 years, as usual, I placed them all in different places, just so it didn't look exactly the same. Ultimately, though, this would be the last year I would use a majority of these decorations, as the next year I would actually get smart and actually buy new ones. So this would be ultimately the last year I would use the same decorations, but placed differently. So I thought I'd just bring that up. Anyway, outside of that, that is pretty cool. There were decorations in the 4 usual places that I always would decorate in 4th of July parties. In fact, this would also be the last year to only decorate in those 4 places, as the next year I would decorate even more. I'll talk about that in the next episode for 2022. I thought I'd just bring that up. And because I didn't have enough time to make a custom shirt for 2021, I had to re-release the one from 2019. But I think we made it up for that a year later. Ultimately, you could tell there was not that much going into 2021. You could tell that we're getting through this year a whole lot faster than you may think. Anyway, that's besides the point. 4th of July was still really cool for the backyard, and proves that the backyard games was still originally meant to take place in June. And yeah, we did have a few new 4th of July decorations, but it was almost nothing. We did have a background again. It honestly had to be one of my personal favorites, honestly. Yeah, entirely new 4th of July shirts at the time. Although I think that was actually the one from the year prior. I don't remember. Point is, yeah, the backyard still looked pretty sweet for 4th of July, despite using all the same decorations again, just in different spots. Thank God a year later, everything changed. But I always appreciate this one. Let's move on to the next events. Yeah, see, I told you I would be getting to this one next. The 7 Days of Fun 2021. It was originally supposed to be from June 1st to the 8th. However, it ended up being delayed by a month due to the backyard anniversary party ending late. It now started on July 21st, and well, here's the thing, it ended one day early, on July 27th, but for a completely different reason. There was still a 7th activity that day, but it still ended early because of another specific reason, which I'll talk about later. Like all other 7 days of funs, each day in the backyard, there was, well, a fun activity around the backyard for each day leading up to the 27th. This event was a lead up to the New York trip of 2021 at the time, hence why it was held during this time, as it was a literal lead up and countdown to that set trip. Which, yes, is the reason it ended one day early. Which now makes me think I should have just started it the day prior. Oh well. Fun fact, actually. Speaking of the 7 days of fun, the first activity was finding all the junk, just all my workshop stuff around the backyard. That was cool. Day 2 of the 7 Days of Fun 2021 was a box tower, as we could clearly see. So, yep, that was pretty cool. Most of these were just repeat activities from what I've done in the backyard series throughout each summer. That was the theme we had going here, mainly. So yeah, prepare to see multiple repeat themes as we go through these. This is day 3, July 23rd, 2021. The second day being July 22nd. It was the water guns. Again, the theme was mainly things I did in the series throughout each summer. It's kind of a similar thing to last year in 2020, where we did the summer luau. Ultimately, this was cool. We sprayed the water guns throughout the backyard as well to get it all wet. But first, we had to find them. That was really cool. Ultimately, some of them didn't actually end up working, so ultimately I had to throw a few out. But that made sense though. In fact, actually, speaking of which, every single one of these water guns are just straight up gone now. Because we got rid of them in 2022. But it was nice seeing these things again. And that's it. Day 4. Get that in a sec. This was to celebrate, for not having a backyard games, this was to celebrate the 4-year anniversary of the first ever backyard games to make up for not having one in June, when it was intended. Ultimately, we did everything to celebrate 4 years of the backyard games event by doing the 3 original set activities. That was super cool. Yeah, we did the 3 original set activities. Technically there was 4, but that would require spray painting, but we didn't have any around at the time. And I still don't think so now. But we did stuff like the ring hunt, and we also did the Frisbee at the time, which, oh, yeah, that's right. That's gone too. Actually, a lot of things here aren't actually here anymore. And you'll know what I mean when we get to 2022, because oh boy, that's when half of this stuff just was gone. I think the only thing to still be here from this day's activity, I think, is the soccer ball, actually. Now that I think about it. Anyway, that's really cool. Yep, the soccer ball was done as well. So, that was nice. Ultimately, day 5 of the 7 Days of Fun 2021 was the hose. It was the one for back in here in the backyard, of course. Of course, as you would expect, this would, of course, again be just me, obviously just randomly spraying around the hose. That was a very fun activity at the time. Yet we were getting to the end of the 7 Days of Fun at this time, as this was the same week it was ending. So we were already halfway through. And yeah, as usual, it was just me spraying around the hose using the various modes that it had, which was nice at the time. It was nice doing that. Oh yeah, it was even leaking at the time. Thank God we don't have to deal with that now. Speaking of which, I don't even know what the heck happened to that thing. Yeah, that's the one thing I don't know. We even used the one in the front yard too, because that was pretty sweet at the time. Hey, I thought, why not branch out to the front yard too at the time? Oh yeah, and doing that was kind of funny, just having that slide around for no freaking reason. Anyway, that's it for day 5. Day 6 of the 7 Days of Fun 2021 was the water bin. And that was cool. Oh, well, yes, I did see that little Halloween decoration down there. Don't think I didn't see that. I'm looking back at all this footage and realizing, yeah, I saw that. But yeah, it was the water bins. I think, actually, though, this was actually, the only new activity, actually. Now that I think about it, actually, I think this and day 7, were the only 2 new activities in the 7 Days of Fun for that year. Oh, wait till we get to 2022, though. Oh, this is all going to mean nothing. Wait, just wait. Oh, yeah, all this is going to mean nothing. Anyway, with that being said, yep, it was basically that. The water bin. Just filled with water. And that's it. This is it. The final day. Or also more known as the day it actually ended. Day 7, July 27th. It ended this day because this was just a few hours before the New York trip began for that year. The last one being the Aquafire, which I did promise there would be at least one new activity in this event. That would be the Aquafire. And it was only just introduced just a few weeks prior. Just 1 week prior to it actually being in here. Actually, just 2 weeks prior to it being in here. Anyway, with that being said, as the name would suggest, we would throw the Aquafire all over the place. And yeah, this was in the middle of a storm. So yeah. I know. That was pretty nuts. But yeah, we threw it across the backyard and the lanai itself, which was pretty cool at the time. And that, my friends, wrapped up 7 Days of Fun. Let's move on to the next event. We finally hit it. 800 episodes. This was on August 4th, 2021, and was held at the ranch in New York. There was technically no quote-unquote event for this, but I'll still add it in because, of course, I didn't want to forget about it. There was technically no event for this because it was held in New York, but this was planned to happen because I wanted to hit at least one milestone right before the ranch closed down. And I'm glad I did it because I literally did it the day before we left it forever. So that was pretty sweet. This was actually I think, the first ever milestone to not have a logo. This was due to the fact that I did not have enough time to make a logo before I went up to New York. Now, I know you're thinking I could have made one when I was in Buffalo, and yes, I sure could have. I just didn't, because I forgot at the time, dang it. Oh well. If we do hit a milestone in New York this year, I will be sure to make a logo for it. That's besides the point. This milestone consisted of the ATV, which there has actually not been one on that thing ever since, because I have never seen it since. Literally, we did stuff like the ATV, which was a freaking blast, and we also just walked around the ranch. We smashed rocks. That was a pretty fun time. Again, no event for this, but I thought I'd just mention it just in case, because technically, hey, if I didn't mention it, it would have felt like we would have never hit a milestone that year. But technically we did, because there is proof in the playlist. With that being said, I thought I'd just mention it. It was the first milestone episode to be hit outside of my backyard in, since 200? I know. How nuts is that? The first milestone to be hit outside of my current backyard since 200. That is insane. And that was only 3 years to finally accomplish that. This would have happened again a year later if I hit 1,000 at the time that I wanted to, September 2nd. But it didn't happen. I'll tell you when that happened later. Not in this episode, but the next one. Ultimately, this was the only milestone episode to be hit at the ranch. Ultimately, because of its closure not that long after. Let's move on to the next event. This next event is another combination of two events. The Summer Party / Water Party 2021. It started on August 19th and it was originally supposed to end on the 26th. But it didn't because I forgot to take it down. Rather, it ended on the 28th. Now, I didn't forget about the anniversary party for Backyard Reveals. I'll get to that in a few minutes. But ultimately, the reason this was held together was mainly because, well, I never held the summer party any other time of the summer. I wanted to change things up at the time. Ultimately, that failed in my favor and I had to do it in August instead. But you know what? That worked because I finally changed things up. Merging it with the water party, a very similar tactic that I did in ZL2 a year prior. And would later do in Zolazap 2 exactly a week after this event occurred. Ultimately, as the name suggests, the backyard was decorated with, there was a summer shirt combining the two colors. Ultimately, as the name suggests, there were decorations combining the two events into one, having decorations from each event in every other room, which was a really nice touch. I think the shed had to be my personal favorite room. Ultimately, this was super freaking cool, as it truly proved that I had a lot going for it. No, sorry. I was wrong, guys. Apparently, it was not every other room. It was just like one side of the backyard had summer and the other side had water, like the field, for example. So, that's something to know. Oh, no, never mind. This is the pond view. My mistake, guys. Actually, the pond view was actually a combination room between the two, as it was going from summer to water. And yes, the goggles were available. Since this was a combo party, there were items from both parties respectively available, which was really nice at the time. Now, I've never done this since because there has been no reason to. Ultimately, yeah. And, yeah. Dang. Remembering I don't have those guns anymore. Or just any of them featured in this. Remember what I said earlier? In the 7 Days of Fun part? Yeah. Oh yeah, literally every single one of these water guns are just gone now. with that being said, we are actually almost done with the year, actually. 54 minutes in, and yeah, we're almost done with the year. Almost. We got like another 4 months of events to do, but it shouldn't take us that long. But you guys get the idea. Yep, you guys get the idea here. Combination of summer and water. It was seriously awesome. I'm glad I brought this to the backyard, as I still had nowhere to put the summer party, and the summer was almost over at the time. So, that was that. See, I told you I didn't forget about this. The Backyard Videos 5th anniversary party. It started on August 25th, and, well, was originally supposed to end on the 26th alongside the Summer and Water Party, but it ended the same day as the Summer and Water Party due to the fact that I forgot to take it down. But actually, this had to be the most disappointing backyard anniversary party. Thankfully, a year later, it made up for it. Yet, this had to be the most disappointing backyard events. Backyard video anniversary party. That's right. I'm not even joking. For 5 years, I'm not going to lie to you, I am still extremely disappointed. I could have done way more than what I did. Ultimately, this had to be the most disappointing one. Not because we didn't get an awesome custom shirt, of course. That was freaking awesome. Still have it now. I still have almost all my custom shirts now. If not basically all of them. But why do I say that this was a freaking disappointment? Simply put, one of the main reasons is because there were shirts available that were kind of supposed to stay rare. Like the 4th anniversary shirt and the Backyard Farewell shirt. Those are supposed to stay rare. Because they're supposed to stay exclusive to their set anniversaries. Yeah, I know. You know what else was a very big disappointment? Because of the ongoing Summer and Water Party, there were 0 decorations related to the actual anniversary outside of the shirts and the logo. Yep, that's it. I'm not even joking. I am not making that up, actually. No, guys, I'm not making that up. That's why this is so disappointing. There were no decorations. But it was only the shirts available and a pin. I know, having those available are nice, but I realize now I probably should have just kept them rare. I think that's also the Backyard Videos return shirt. Or, yeah, I think that's actually it. Yeah. Having these shirts available, it was cool, but it kind of defeats them being rare to their set events, though. That's one thing I find disappointing. But I'll admit, though, I at least tried to celebrate 5 years. Yep, it showed that I at least tried. I'll give myself that. I at least tried to celebrate 5 years in a good way. It's just, I could have just done so much more and better. Thank God, that is where the 6th anniversary comes a year later. 'Cause, oh boy, it sure definitely made up for this. Oh, you freaking bet it did. Wait till you see it in the next episode of the Saturday Stories, when I talk about 2022. 'Cause, oh boy, I did way better there. The next event occurs all the way on September 19th for the celebration of fall, 2021. It started on September 19th and was originally supposed to end on the 26th. However, it actually ended on the 29th, because I forgot to take it down. You could tell there were a lot of events that I just forgot to take down. And yeah, you could tell this was the year. Ultimately, though, this was a very fun celebration of fall. I think this was actually the first celebration of fall to just fully straight up take place at night, which was really nice at the time. There was even some brand new decorations at the time, which was actually really awesome. Because in this event, while I think we did have a custom shirt, yes, we sure did, we did have a custom shirt, and I think this is actually the last celebration of fall for like 2 years not to have a shirt. Well, sorry, to have a shirt. Now, what do I mean by decorations? Well, a lot of the decorations from previous years were reused but placed different places. But the one difference is that this time there was actually a bit of a difference. We had leaves, which was awesome, which proved there were actually some new decorations, which was amazing. And some of them are actually, I think, still there to this very day somehow. Well, actually, I think I'm wrong. I think they're gone now, but they actually stayed for a while. Some of the leaves by complete accident, but most of them were gone when the event ended. You could tell this was way bigger than the celebration of spring, because I actually put a lot of care into this. And yeah, you could definitely tell I put a lot more care in here compared to the celebration of spring that we talked about earlier. And yep, we had just hit an hour, a minute back, but we're almost done. But yeah, you could tell there was still a lot of care put into this. While I know most of the decorations were from the year prior, just placed differently, it was nice to see those leaves on the ground and have a little bit of a difference for once. That's something, I'll tell you that. And to have it all at night was really cool too. Oh boy. Boy, that was nuts. Oh, yeah, speaking of that, I'll talk about that in a few minutes. It's not our next event, but it's the next one after the one we're about to talk about right now. The next event in the backyard in 2021 was a completely brand new one, actually. The Halloween Scavenger Hunt. It started on October 3rd and ended on the 10th. Finally, we get an event that actually ends on the day it's supposed to. Finally, we hadn't seen that since the 7 Days of Fun. My God, finally. Actually, since the 800 episode celebration. But point is, this was all held in black and white. That's right. Complete shocking twist. This was all in black and white. The idea behind this event was that all of the decorations for Halloween went missing, and we had to find them throughout the backyard throughout the week, but in black and white to make it more difficult. But yeah, here's more footage of the actual scavenger hunt at a daytime to make it more understandable. So ultimately, say for example right here in day 3, we were supposed to find the gates, because it would make the event more spooky because of the scary gates. Yep, and you could tell all this was in black and white, proving that I wasn't joking about that. Ultimately, it was really fun finding all these Halloween decks. The gates being the hardest to put into the workshop. Speaking of which, it was the only one where I purposely had to put them in the workshop until the actual set event occurred, which took place a week after this ended. Ultimately, that was so much fun. Outside of that, there really isn't much else to say about this. It was a really nice scavenger hunt. Let's move on to the actual Halloween event itself, which actually later featured this little concept we had going here. The Halloween Party 2021. It started on October 17th and ended on November 2nd. The logo applies. This party was extremely custom and really, really cool. There were a ton of new backyard Halloween decorations alongside all the old ones, which was really cool. It was really cool. Yeah, we had a ton of new backyard Halloween decorations alongside just all the old ones, with most of the new ones being in the workshop, which was a little craft showcased area, which was really nice. It really showed how custom this Halloween party truly was going to be. Yep, we had a ton of new Halloween decorations that also spread not just across the workshop, but also around the backyard itself. Remember the black gates that I just told you about earlier? Yep, they would later be put into this actual event to make it look more scary. In fact, that black gate actually became a common decoration of the pond view starting with this party. Just to be clear, actually. But it wouldn't be for that long, though. But yeah, it was there for a bit. It would get removed, of course, after each event for a few months. But yeah, it was a really nice time. Now, that's just only half the fun of this party. You want to know the other half? If you find seeing it in color was cool, why not seeing the entire event in black and white too? Yeah, that's what made this event way too much freaking fun. You could switch between seeing the event in color and seeing it in black and white to make it look more scary, which truly was one of the greatest ideas I had at the time. Something similar would happen a year later, just without black and white. I'll talk about that next time. Point is, yeah, seeing the entire event in black and white was a big deal at the time, and it truly showed that you could basically do anything. Yup, you could see the entire event, not just in color, but in black and white too, which truly made this event way better than it should have. And I truly love that I thought of this concept. Now, unfortunately, it is not returned since, which is unfortunate. Every other episode of Backyard Videos during this party was in black and white. Yep, every other episode was either in color or in black and white. Yep, every other episode it would switch. Well, every episode it would switch between the two to make it more interesting. To show the concept was not a joke. And it truly wasn't. Even the Halloween episode itself was in black and white to show it wasn't a joke. Oh yeah, the danger sign. That was really cool in black and white. Ultimately though, this party was freaking amazing. It was the one that I was the most excited to do throughout the month of October because of how awesome the concept was. And with that being said, yep, I told you the gates were everywhere. See, I think I'm glad that those gates got removed in March and just put off to the side, because now I can actually use them in events like this, which made it even more awesome. We even had Skeleton Garland. It was so cool, man. With that being said, unfortunately, unlike the year prior, there was no candy hunt on Halloween. But thankfully, a year after that, it returned. With that being said, that is it for this party. Let's move on to the next one. Of course, you could guess it was the the Top of the Pump House 5th anniversary celebration for, that. Ultimately, I'm not going to lie to you, I think this was honestly weaker than the 4th anniversary. While it did combine literally every single anniversary aspect from, all other years prior, I feel the 4th anniversary looked a little better. I'm not gonna lie. But I truly tried. This was held on the night of Sunday, November 7th, 2021. And this was actually pretty cool. It celebrated 5 years of this little discovery. And, yeah. As I just addressed, it was a combination of all the other anniversaries in one, which was really cool, including a little bit of a 5th anniversary. You could tell I wanted to go all out with this party. Yep, it only lasted the one night of November 7th, and well, it truly showed. Look at this. That's really cool, right? Yeah, you could tell I tried going all out by having as much decoration as humanly possible. And yeah, that was awesome. And ultimately, that's seriously cool, man. Yep, there's stuff from the 3rd anniversary, the 2nd anniversary. It was seriously so freaking cool. Yep, we had stuff from all the anniversaries just mixed together into one to truly make it one of the most gigantic celebrations for this of all time. I don't understand why I was still doing this anniversary at the time, though, considering I'm not even in the actual location anymore. That's one thing I don't get. I should have just stopped after the second anniversary now that I think about it. Yeah, now that I think about it, I honestly should have just stopped after the second anniversary. As after that, it just didn't make sense anymore. Speaking of which, this was the last Top of the Pump House anniversary celebration. Ever. Yep. Yep, that's right. This was the last one. Speaking of which, after realizing there was no point anymore. Because I realized, what the frick is still the point of doing this every year? And that's why a year later, on November 7th, 2022, there was no celebration at all. It was just a normal episode that day. For the first time since, well, 2016, where it had absolutely no relation to the anniversary because it wasn't even the anniversary at the time. But I did at least acknowledge it that day. Anyway, you could clearly see why this was so huge. And honestly, I think this was the best way to end it, to wrap it all up after doing it for 5 years straight. Yeah, I truly think this was the greatest way to wrap it all up after doing this for 5 years. And, yep, that's it. So from this point forward, you will never see me mention about an anniversary party related to this ever again, as this was the last one. Let's move on to the next event. Oh, and apparently I forgot to add this to the Backyard Events playlist, I see. Yeah, looks like I forgot to add that in. I completely just realized that now that it is not in there. So, yeah, if I didn't just put that in, I'll, of course, move it to exactly where it needs to go, like right now. Alright, there we go. That's done. You remember how I said we would get to an actual Night of Lights later? Yep, this is the real Night of Lights for 2021. It started on November 15th and ended on the 22nd. Yep, this was the real Night of Lights for 2021. And this was so much better. We actually completed it this time, unlike previous years, which was nice. Showed that I actually cared. So the workshop was blue, with the tripod area being green. That was super cool. The shed was, I think, yellow. Yeah. Yellow. And yeah, I think those were snowflake. Yeah, those were snowflake lights. What else? This was the pumpkin lights, and I think those were the fall lights, if I'm not aware. No, sorry, those are the rainbow lights. My bad. So fall leaf and pumpkin lights there. Night. Actually, sorry, we will be here forever if I go through all of them, because yeah, we have a lot. Since I actually completed it this time. Oh yeah, next event. But yeah, Night of Lights. That was so cool, man. Having the lights event actually be complete this time was awesome. And here we go, the winter party. In fact, actually, this is actually the 100th event to be held in this backyard. Not the 100th backyard event overall. No, it was just the 100th event to be held in the this backyard right here, my current one. Now, technically, remotely speaking, if we look at the playlist, technically this would be 99, but since this is here, and the only reason it is just to show the black and white part of it, this is technically considered the 100th event. But yeah, the 100th event in this backyard. That was honestly something I wasn't expecting, and I didn't even mention it because I didn't even know at the time. Yeah, I didn't even know at the time, so I didn't even mention it. The Winter Party of 2021. This was a really cool party. Remember what I said earlier when we were talking about Halloween? Yeah, the Black Fence returned for Night of Lights and the Winter Party, and the Christmas Party too. It actually stayed for a while after this party. Anyway, as you would expect, the backyard was decorated in a winter theme, as usual. It started on November 29th and ended on December 9th. Yep, now we're getting back into events that actually started and ended on their correct days, which is awesome. Now, this started so late in November because I wanted more of the event to be in December, as that's technically the month of winter, at least where I am in the world, that is. So that's something. Anyway, this event had a little bit of a twist. In this event, you were able to hunt for snowflakes scattered around the backyard, including the gold one, which was really cool. It showed that, well, yeah, it wasn't a joke. Yep, you could hunt for snowflakes that you see around the winter party. You don't really get anything for it, but it was nice to have. That's something I thought I'd just bring up. That's really it. The problem, though, there was one major problem about this event, though. Since this was held right after we were starting to start decorating for Christmas, I ultimately started forgetting about this event. And by forgetting, I'm meaning basically forgetting it was on to begin with, where I purposely had to do a few episodes just to catch up with it. And by the way, that logo was freaking awesome. But that wasn't all. Oh yeah, this was funny. Literally one day into the event, the logo was already destroyed. I find that freaking funny. But also annoying because, yeah, that took forever to make. 2 days into the party, or just mainly 3 days into this party, on December 1st, 2021, there was a ton more decorations added to this party, which truly made it even better than it was on day one. Well, you could tell there were differences, such as a ton of new winter garland. And well, it wasn't a joke, as you could clearly see here. Yeah, there was a ton of new winter garland in all the rooms that barely had decorations on day one. And some decorations were just straight up moved for that reason. But yeah, you could tell on day one there was almost nothing here. But having this here made the party way better than it was on day one. So, those improvements were nice. The next event to occur in the backyard was actually the Christmas scavenger hunts. But at first, there were Christmas decorations already starting to go up in the backyard. But mainly, it was time for the Christmas scavenger hunt. It started on December 9th and ended on the 16th. Yep, immediately after the winter party ended. And it also led directly into the Christmas party. For this scavenger hunt, we had to find various things around the backyard. It was basically exactly the same as the Halloween scavenger hunt, except this time it was in actual color, and it was at daytime, and it was just about Christmas decorations. But it had the same idea, just without all that extra stuff included. Now this was super cool. Yep, we purposely had to search around the backyard and find basically everything while we were starting to already put up Christmas decorations in the backyard, which were thankfully done by the 16th, which was when the party began for Christmas, which is actually what we're about to get into as the last event, because nothing else occurred after. Anyway, this was just a nice little mini event to do right before Christmas. And well, it showed. So yeah. So the idea was, yeah, finding stuff. Where we had to search around the backyard for the following Christmas decorations. And this was daily, by the way, so that was something. Yep, we searched for literally everything, as you could clearly see, and even found the trick-or-treat sign somehow in the Christmas bin. So, hey, at least we found that after the Halloween event. That was actually really annoying, but also kind of funny that it was in there. But, yeah, you could tell things were getting ready. As for the actual scavenger hunt, yep, this is what I'm talking about. Christmas decorations were hidden around the backyard after blowing away. And yet we had to find them before the event on the 16th. Because, yep, when I was trying to set things up, they just blew away. And I had to find them. So that was a huge pain. But yeah, I found them all. It was nice and challenging, I think, if I recall correctly. But yeah, it was nice. Anyway, now that you got that over with, it's time for the last event of the year, Christmas itself. Lastly, but not least, was of course Christmas. Christmas Party 2021. It started on December 16th, 2021, and was originally supposed to end on December 27th, 2021, but it ultimately ended on January 7th, 2022. Which was by obviously complete accident. Thankfully this year in 2022, it was fixed. Ultimately, this Christmas party, similarly to 2017, all took place at night. There was entirely new Christmas decorations too, by the way, which was awesome. Anyway, the point remains, this party was so much fun and was truly a great way to wrap up 2021 despite how lackful it was. And ultimately, this was so much fun. There was a lot of fun stuff you could do in this party. Like, there was, item stockings where you could purposely open one up and you can find yourself, if you got it correctly, you could find yourself, for example, the shirt for the party, which I think is still with me today, actually, which is nice. Actually, I think all of them are still with me. I think all the shirts. The point remains. The whole backyard was decorated for Christmas, as you would expect. And with it all being at night, made it even more pretty. So that was something. Yeah, I know. It was all at night again, like 2017. The whole event, actually, the entire event was all at night like 2017, which was pretty insane. I did not think that was going to come back. Anyway, yeah, the backyard was decorated extremely beautifully for this holiday. And I think it was one of my favorite events of the year, I'm not gonna lie. Because there was just so much in it. And the lit up candy canes from 2020 finally made an appearance. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You actually heard me. Holy frick. The lit up candy canes that were supposed to be here in 2020 finally made their debut, which was awesome. No, literally, they were supposed to be made their debut in the Christmas Party 2020, but no, they finally came a year later, which was awesome because we finally found a spot for them. Yeah, the year prior we couldn't find a spot for them, but this year around we finally found a spot for them. Which was literally right next to the filter. That was so awesome. Anyway, there was something else in this event outside of just the item stockings. There was something else. Let me talk about that. And that was the Christmas lights, turning on Christmas lights in 20 seconds challenge. This was a challenge where you had to turn on literally every single Christmas light in the event in 20 seconds or less. Oh, and you bet I kept failing it. So much so that I turned it into an entire episode. I kept failing so many times. By the end of the episode, I had finally gotten it. And I received the Christmas hat at the end. Well, actually, I think it was. Let's see. Yeah, it was the Santa hat at the end that I received from the stocking. So, that was really cool. Yep. The Christmas lights in 20 seconds challenge. That was a really nice twist. That was implemented into this party because of how many Christmas lights there were in the actual event. So that was a really fun thing that I did. And ultimately, that wraps up not just this party, but the entire year of 2021. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Saturday Stories for all Backstreet events in 2021. I am sorry this came out a year late, but I'm about to go record 2022's right now because I am really, really motivated and excited to talk about that. And I promise you, though, 2022 was a way more active year compared to 2021. And I'll tell you, though, it was so cool. With that being said, I'll see you next time. Bye, guys. And well, here's to talk about all of 2022 now.